Hello and welcome to today's mini-teach in referencing and plagiarism. This is going to be a small video just to help you through the basics about referencing and how to not plagiarise your work in academic writing. Today's mini-teach is going to cover what is referencing and what is plagiarism exactly, why you should use quotes within your academic work. There's a short task where I show you 3 examples of students' work where referencing has and hasn't been used. And then there's a section on structuring and referencing correctly to help you, as well as some useful sites just to get you on your way with some examples. What is referencing? Well, it's to use outside sources to give evidence to support or contradict points in a discussion that you're making. By referencing the evidence correctly, one can identify which points are your own thoughts and which are someone else's which you've used to give a platform of your findings. Referencing allows others to identify outside research material that is not your own original idea. It gives credit to authors of work you've used within your text and can provide further facts and information that might not be known to the reader itself. This allows the reader to be able to follow your source material to learn more about the topics themselves if they wanted to later on. So for example, I've shown the source of where I found this information from elearningindustries.com. It's not quite referenced exactly as you might see in a Harvard referencing style, but I've shown you the link where you could find out more information on referencing if you so wished. So here's 10 examples of resources that could be referenced within academic work. It can be something like articles or books, classroom resources, conferences, webinars, blogs, journals, podcasts, websites, as well as multiple media sources such as film, music, TV series, YouTube links, pictures, online videos, emails, social media sites. These can all be referenced and have a specific way of referencing. Most likely you will be using that of books or articles, but you may want to include, say, a classroom resource you use, or a questionnaire that has been asked. So what's plagiarism? Plagiarism is the act of copying another's work and claiming it as your own without referencing to the original source. The definition of copywriting is to copy and paste another's material, such as an article, blog, website, and republishing it as your own work or ideas. This includes copying text or media from multiple sites and creating a new piece of work from them. Just because you've taken one piece from one website and another paragraph from another and spliced them together doesn't mean it's a new piece of work that is your own. You still need to reference the original ideas. When submitting an academic piece of work, you will also be assessed on your academic integrity. This is sometimes termed the learner moral code. The learner is expected to be honest and produce authentic work that's their own, or at least cite if they have paraphrased or used an idea of another person. Submitting work that is not your original ideas and not referencing outside sources with the intent of passing it off as your own will have some serious consequences. So why should you include quotations within your academic writing? Quotations reinforce your idea and make you seem more credible. This could also be in a short paraphrased version of a paragraph of information you want to use. The point is not necessarily your original idea, so you need to paraphrase and reference that you have paraphrased this article, book, website, wherever your source has come from. Including quotes raises your learning ability as you can rationalise outside sources to help demonstrate, debate, and reason your discussion. Quotes add a variety to your writing. You could include statistics, direct quotes, sources, media extracts to break up your writing. Quotes say it better. Finding a precise and direct quote aids in the rationalisation of the point you're making in a more direct manner. It also gives your work some backup as it shows that there are other people who have had the same idea as you. Quotes provide a map of discovery which a reader can explore for themselves to compare against your findings. Someone may want to find out more information about some of the sources you've used, and they can follow your bibliography, your citations, to find the direct route where you found that initial source. If you're looking at doing this at a degree level, often you can find more relevant sources from your first findings, because you can then look at the bibliography that that person has found in their work and see who else they have looked at citing. For task 1, we're going to look at Gibbs's reflective cycle. It's all right if you've not heard of Gibbs's reflective cycle before. It's the topic that these 3 students were looking at the time. I've also provided a little diagram just to the side here to show you his 6 steps. It starts with a description of the event, the feelings felt at the time, an evaluation of how that you think the event went, an analysis of how it could go better, conclusion, and then an action plan to set off on your next time of providing the task. We're going to see a selection of text from 3 learners, such as yourself. I want you to take a moment to read through the passages carefully, decide if they've used any reference material, if they've referenced it correctly, and if they've understood Gibbs's reflective cycle as a whole. See if there's any plagiarism or if any students have tried to pass off work as their own without referencing an outside source. Example 1. I've often found that if I'm feeling rushed and running late due to a train delay or technology is not working, I feel stressed and often feel myself rushing to get all the information out at once. This is not a great way to teach, and depending on the session I'm teaching, it can be confusing or overwhelming for the learner if there's a lot of information to learn. This can make learners disengage from the teaching. Example 2. Gibbs' reflective cycle was developed by Graham Gibbs in 1988 to give structure to learning from experiences. It offers a framework for examining experiences, and given its cyclic nature, lends itself particularly well to repeated experiences, allowing you to learn and plan from things that went either well or didn't go well. It covers 6 stages: description of the event, feelings and thoughts about the experience, evaluation of the experience, analysis to make sense of the situation, conclusion about what you've learned and could have done differently, and an action plan for how you would deal with similar situations in the future. This is just one model of reflection. Example 3. Reflecting on one's practice is a great way to plan for the future to avoid instances going wrong. By using Gibbs' reflective cycle, Gibbs 1988, it gives structure to learning from experiences, ... It offers a framework for examining experiences, Gibbs' reflective cycle helping people learn from experiences, 2022. With this process in mind, we can reflect upon our teaching using Gibbs's 6 stages to identify the feelings at the time it was taught, as well as remembering to evaluate and analyse the session to see if this affected the session itself. By highlighting the good as well as aspects that might need improvement or adaptation, we are able to draw out a conclusion and the action plan for next time. This will allow for a better approach when teaching the session again and help prepare for unexpected situations, as we've been able to analyse and improve from what we have reflected on. So which example do you think worked best? Example 1, the learner is working at a lower level than they could be achieving. They've not really shown to use outside sources or used any research to extend their learning, though they have reflected upon what might have affected their teaching, so they have some understanding of Gibbs's reflective cycle. However, they have the potential to build on the foundation of what they've already known, and they can easily find relevant and appropriate resources to help contextualise their learning. So although it's good and it is their own work, they haven't quite made that level up to the deep learner level because they've not used resources or research to extend it. Example 2, this learner is equally working at a lower level, even though they've shown to include outside websites and sources. But this is because the learner has just copied and pasted the text from the source without proper citation, quotation marks, breaking down the text to demonstrate their understanding of the information. This could easily be checked by a plagiarism site, which we're going to look at later on in the teaching session. You might also notice that the formatting has some errors in it within the text, such as bold text for topic sentences or hyperlinked areas which are underlined. This really hints to a copy and paste situation, as there's pre-hyperlinked phrases showing you other topics that could be looked at. This is just one way that we can spot it's an easily plagiarized piece of work. Finally, we'll look at example 3. This learner is working at a high level, and we're really pleased about that. They've included references to build upon their initial points made. They've contextualized the information to highlight that they're a deep level learner and they understand the topic that's been asked of them. So here's some tips to help structure and reference your work properly. So you're asked a question that you need to start showing some referencing for, but you might not have written an academic question in quite some time or at all. Think about how you're structuring your writing to show a focused understanding that you've read the question, understood the text, and can link further research into your response. You might want to use a formula. There are many different versions. I like to use PEALed, for example. Point, evidence, explain, or analyze, depending on how you peel, and then linking. However, there are many other different formulas. You might have known of PEE, point, evidence, explain. SEAL, SEAL, statement, evidence, analyze, and link. WET, words, effect, technique. PACE, point, analyze, citation, evidence. RATS, reader's response, author's intentions, theme, and structure. Let me just break down PEAL for you. This is the same for both PEEL or PEAL, just depends on how you like to peel. Point, write the main ideas you want to talk about. This is your topic sentence. Your reader should be able to know the point you're making from the first sentence in your paragraph. Evidence, prove your point by using a quotation from resource, text, and research. Explain or analyze. Explain why you've made the point and how your quotation backs up the point you're making. Your point may also contradict what is being said in the text. This is the point where you start to explain why you've chosen that quotation. Link. Your next sentence should start to join the next point of the following paragraph. Let's show this in an example. So we're going back to example 3, and we're going to peel it back. Here I've got some colour points. Point is in yellow, evidence is in green, analyze is in blue, and link is in red. So the first sentence, reflecting on one's practice is a great way to plan for the future to avoid instances going wrong. This is our point. If we reflect on our practice, we can catch any mistakes that might be made for the next time. Evidence. Here we're going to see a quote. By using Gibbs' reflective cycle, Gibbs 1988, it gives structure to learning from evidence, ... Now this ... means that the quote goes on for more than a couple of lines and it's still relevant, but I don't want to include all the quote in it. So I'm going to put these 3 dots to hide the rest of the quote, though it is relevant. And then go on to the next sentence, which makes the sentence carry on. It offers a framework for examining experiences. Gibbs' reflective cycle, helping people learn from experiences, 2022. Analyze. This paragraph is then going to discuss and reflect upon what we've said within that quote. So here we've discussed exactly what example 2 had, where they'd copied and pasted the 6 stages, but we've reflected upon the 6 stages within our own work, as opposed to just literally copy and pasting the description of what happens within each stage. Finally, we have link in red. This wasn't originally in the example that we had back for example 3, but this is how the paragraph would then carry on with a new linking sentence. If we were to compare Gibbs' reflective cycle to that of Kolb's learning cycle, ... it would carry on. So here we're starting to link our point to another theorist, Kolb, and his learning cycle, and we can then compare and contrast how these might differ in your practice. Plagiarism sites. It's vital that when including quotations from sources, that you cite them correctly. There are many sites that are used by industries, organisations, and educational establishments, which use plagiarism sites to help weed out copied and dishonest work. I'm giving you a few examples of most common plagiarism sites used. The reason for this is because it can also help you to know that you have referenced correctly. So you might have heard of some of them. There's plagiarismdetector.net, turnitin.com, Chegg.com, CopyLeaks, and Grammarly. These sites scan millions of digital documents against billions of words across the internet, including scanned hard copies of text, captions, and subtitles that we might not even think of. However, by sourcing your information correctly, using the correct grammar format, such as quotation marks and brackets, and referencing the evidence correctly, you are able to create a foundation of context to demonstrate your knowledge of the subject, rather than just copying and pasting huge chunks of information which might not be relevant to your discussion and highlights your lack of understanding. By breaking it down and fine-tuning your quote to the relevant bit of nutty information you need, it shows you are a high-level learner who understands how to contextually break down discussion. So let's have a look at one of these plagiarism sites. Here we've gone to plagiarismdetector.net. I've copied and pasted example 2 from the student, and within a minute, I've been able to find out that it is 100% plagiarized. But here's how the student might have thought they got away with it. They've copied and pasted information from 2 different websites, maybe thinking they could cast it off as their own. However, this website is very clever at finding its sources and has told me exactly what parts have been plagiarized and where the information has come from. It's even detected that it's 50% from one website and 50% from another. So how could this student have done better? Well, for one, they could have started to reflect on their own practice and included some of this information and referenced it correctly to help back up their work. Handing this type of work in that is 100% plagiarized would have gotten them an instant fail and could have possibly got them kicked off the course. Plagiarism is really, really, really important that we don't plagiarize and that we reference our work correctly. So going back to task 1, here's example 3, which was our high-level learner. This is 100% unique. And if we were to click on this view plagiarized sources, there are none. So that's great. It's not plagiarized at all. This is because the learner has used the quotation marks to show exactly what point they are making, and they've used the brackets to show the inner text citation to show where they've got their evidence from. So this student has done really well in that fact that they've been able to reference. But what if you really struggle with referencing or you're not quite sure where to look? Well, here's some websites that can help you with referencing. We're not expecting you to be able to pick up a book and know straight away exactly the information you need to put down for referencing a book correctly. But you also might not be doing a book. Remember, you can do things such as social media sites, you can do videos, you can do DVDs, you can do online sources, you can do a podcast. There are all different ways of referencing these materials, and each one is slightly different from the last. So let's have a look at what some of these do. So this is MyBib. Here we've got it selected as a Harvard style, so it's going to generate in one particular way. It's one of the most popular ways. You can select many different versions, but usually you want Harvard referencing. We can also share this with other people. We can import references. There are many different things we can do with this. So to begin with, I could start a new project, and I might call this, for the moment, I've got an Alice in Wonderland book, so we'll just do Alice. So maybe I'm writing a paper on Alice in Wonderland. I don't know. But it's a very simple page, quite simple and easy to look at. We can add a reference. Here we're going to have this toolbar come up. Now, it might be that I've looked at a website. I could quite easily just copy and paste a link in there. It could be a book, it could be a journal, a video, but it might be that, say, I'm looking at a TED Talk. Well, I can look even further and go into all of these, and there's like interviews, journal article, legislation, news article, websites, videos, podcasts. There are many different ways, but this will help you to start to begin what you need to look at. So for now, I'm just going to go with book. And I can either search for the book. So this book is Alice Curious and Curiouser from the V&A exhibition. So I could start typing in, and then it comes up there, and it's giving me some examples. To begin with, we want to see, so we've got Alice in Wonderland, Curious and Curiouser, which is Lewis Carroll. But as I said, it's from the V&A Museum. So to begin with, I can't see the author on this book because it's the kind of glossy exhibition edition. So if I were to go inside the book and start reading, I'd see that the author is indeed, in fact, Katie Bailey and Simon Shaden, which is where we've got there. But also I can look and it says publisher, Victoria and Albert Museum. So I could select it and it gives me all this information. Fantastic. It's told me the date it was published, who was the publisher, where it was published. And then we've got this, the ISBN number. If I just say, yeah, save, that then comes up on my list. Fantastic. At the back, we've got this barcode. And here at the top, we've got this ISBN number. Now, this is going to be in any book. So we could simply add the reference by going to a book. And then here we've got search book title or ISBN. So I could type in this really long-winded number, which is 978-1. And you've got to remember to keep the dashes, -8, search. And immediately it'll come up with the straightaway answer. So if I wasn't quite sure who the author was, like I said, I had a long list of Alice in Wonderland possibilities. I could type in the ISBN number and it will come up with the exact one I'm after. And again, just click on it, all the information is there, so I don't even need to find it. If I'm writing my bibliography, I want this really long one, which is Bailey, Kate, and Simon. I want that whole top one to go in my bibliography. If I'm just quoting inside a text, so some bits you might not need a bibliography. If you're doing, say, a quick exam answer, you might just want to put the citation in there. We'd use this smaller version, which is in brackets. So we've got the surname of the two authors and then the name of the book. In this case, we've got the page number we're working with. So that's a really quick way to get a reference of a book. And it's the same with Cite This For Me. So let's go with one more and let's find a website. So we've got Mind Tools, helping with Gibbs reflective cycle. So it might be that something in this website has been really, really useful. So we can literally copy and paste the website, add new reference, website. This is the easiest one to do. You copy and paste your website into there. And because all the information is on the website already, it cites it through. So simple as that. We've suddenly got a Harvard reference site, and this is what they can find. Sometimes they can't find information like authors, publishers, publication date, and sometimes we have to go without that information. Other times you have to look into the website itself and have a look further. So it might be that actually by the Mind Tools content team is your author. So, but it hasn't picked that up. So you can then write that later of by the Mind Tools content team. So we'd write that in afterwards. So you go continue, something like that. And then date you accessed it. So it's immediately thought about today, which is great, but it might be I looked at this last week. I can change the date of when I looked at it and I can attach the quote that was particularly the one I wanted and then add citation. And then it is here. So as we said, referencing, it can be quite simple once you get your head around it. And if you struggle with the idea of Harvard formatting, using one of these websites can really, really help you. It will also mean that if you reference properly, you will then not get any plagiarism spikes when we run your work through a plagiarism site software. So again, here's a couple of examples. Cite This For Me. So I was showing you that example. So here is the in-text citation, Gibbs reflective cycle, helping people learn from experiences. And here's what would go in the bibliography citation. Here's MyBib referencing a journal. So here we've got DOI number that we could type in and that would also find it. So like with the book we had with the Alice in Wonderland and we searched the ISBN number, with a journal there might be a DOI number that we can search to make it quicker. Bib Guru. Now I didn't show you this website. This is another fairly easy one to use. You can create a project and go from there. And again, you can search books, websites, articles, and more. Usually these are the common ones for an academic piece of writing, but if you were looking at writing a paper on films, animations, website generation, blogs, you can always click on plus more and find that as well to help cite you. So here we looked at a TED Talk, which is a video. And this one was to do with, we need all kinds of minds. So I found the video on TED Video Talks. You can also find it on YouTube, so I could have used either one. And I searched for a video, typed in the web link that I found it at. It told me the author, who was the speaker at the time, when it was done, the name of the video, that conference it was called, and then it was TED Talks that published it. So as I mentioned before, you don't have to just sample books or websites for referencing. You could look at blogs, podcasts, online videos, pictures, paintings, animations. There's loads of things. There's a big variety of media you could be referencing, and they all have a slightly different way of referencing. So here's a couple of examples of a blog. So again, you've got usually the name of the author or writer at the start, and then when it was created, the text or title of the blog, video, whatever the title might be, and then it starts to change. So here with the blog, it came from Oxford Science blog. So you've then got the catalogue that the blog came from, and then when it was posted and when the viewer viewed it. And then we've also got the link. And then in the citation, we'd have, again, the author and the date it was posted. So as I said, there's slightly different ways to reference different media. And one of the tips is you can easily check this has been done correctly by looking at library referencing guides. You can do this by walking into a library or searching on a digital library, and they can easily be found online. So these examples have come from library guides in particular. And again, I've referenced to show where I found my source. So hopefully that's given you a bit more of an understanding on referencing and how not to plagiarize someone else's work. Hope you have a lovely day and see you again for the next one.